The waitress had just poured their second cup of coffee when she leaned forward, lowered her voice, and said the words that made his heart stop. "You can leave. I'm a single mom." For a split second, the cafe disappeared. So did the noise. So did the smile on his face. Because 5 years earlier, someone had walked out on him for the exact same reason. And what he chose to do next would either reopen an old wound or finally heal it. Stay with this story until the end. Because what began as an awkward first date would become the moment two broken lives learned how to begin again. Mark hadn't been on a date in 3 years. Not because he didn't want companionship, but because life had left him tired in ways sleep couldn't fix. He was a single dad to an 8-year-old boy named Noah. His wife had left shortly after Noah turned 4, saying she wasn't built for motherhood. She moved to another city. New life. New freedom. Mark stayed. He learned how to pack lunches with little notes inside. He learned which cartoons Noah loved and which ones gave him nightmares. He learned how to be strong in public and silent in private. Dating apps felt like a cruel joke. Every profile seemed to demand perfection, freedom, flexibility, no baggage. Mark had baggage. The good kind. The kind that calls you dad and waits by the door when you're late. When his sister convinced him to go on just one date, he almost canceled twice. He stood in front of the mirror adjusting a shirt he hadn't worn in years, wondering if this was a mistake. "What if she asks why I'm still single?" he muttered. "What if she doesn't want a kid in the picture?" Noah looked up from his homework. "Dad, if she's nice, she'll like me too." Kids say things adults forget to believe. The cafe was warm and softly lit. She was already there when he arrived, sitting by the window, nervously stirring her drink. Her name was Emma. They smiled at the same time. Conversation flowed easily. Too easily. They talked about work, bad movies they secretly loved, embarrassing childhood stories. Mark laughed more in that hour than he had in months. For the first time in a long time, he felt normal. Then there was a pause. Emma's smile faded just a little. She wrapped her hands around her cup like it was an anchor. "There's something I need to say," she said. Mark's chest tightened. "You can leave," she continued softly. "I'm a single mom." The words hung in the air, heavy, fragile. She didn't look angry. Or defensive. She looked afraid. And in that moment, Mark saw himself from years ago, sitting across from someone who decided his child made him less desirable. Emma added quickly, "I understand if that's a deal breaker. I just didn't want to hide it." The cafe waited. So did his past. Mark took a breath. Then another. He didn't stand up. He didn't reach for his coat. He didn't look for an excuse. Instead, he smiled, not the polite kind, but the real one. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. Emma nodded cautiously. "I'm a single dad." Her eyes widened. "You are." "My son's 8. He's the best part of my life." Something shifted in her expression, relief, surprise, maybe even hope. She laughed softly, the tension breaking. "I was so sure you'd leave." "I almost didn't come," Mark admitted. "I was afraid you wouldn't understand." Emma looked down. "Most people don't." She told him about her daughter, how she worked 2 jobs, how dating felt impossible, how people smiled until the word child entered the conversation. Mark listened. Not to respond, but to understand. For the first time, neither of them had to explain themselves. They talked until the cafe closed. About bedtime routines. About guilt. About the strange loneliness of being strong for someone else every single day. Outside, the night was cool and quiet. "I'm glad I said it," Emma said as they stood by their cars. "Even if it scared me." "So am I," Mark replied. Honesty saves time and hearts. Their next date wasn't fancy. It was a park. 2 kids on swings. 2 adults pretending not to watch every smile, every laugh. Noah and Emma's daughter raced each other like they'd known one another forever. Mark watched his son laugh, really laugh, and felt something unfamiliar. Possibility. Not the kind that promises perfection. The kind that promises effort. There were challenges. Scheduling. Exhaustion. Moments when old fears crept back in. Moments when both wondered if they were ready. But there was also understanding. Patience. And a shared truth. Love doesn't start when life is easy. It starts when someone looks at your reality and says, I'm still here. One night, months later, Noah asked, Dad, is Emma staying? Mark smiled. If she wants to. She does, Noah said confidently. She packs snacks like you. Years later, Mark would look back on that cafe and realize something profound. The moment Emma said, you can leave, was the moment he finally knew he wouldn't. Because sometimes the bravest thing someone can say isn't I love you. It's this is my life. Do you still choose me? And sometimes, the most powerful answer is simply staying.